Okay folks, here is a review of my lawnmower that I made. Remote control lawnmower. Right now the batteries are not installed because I want to be able to flip it over and demonstrate how the undercarriage was put together. You can see I got my batteries over here charging. But basically these are wheelchair motors here, and this stuff is not zip tied up yet. I have to zip tie it up again. But basically just a regular old lawnmower with some wheelchair motors attached. Let me flip it over and so you can get a shot of the undercarriage. Alright, so here is the mower on its side. As you know, you should always turn the mower away from where the carburetor is, or you're going to have gas leaking all over the place out of your air filter. But here we go with the undercarriage. As you can see, I basically took this angle iron just from a bed frame and I attached it to where the old rear wheels used to be. And I actually didn't have to drill any holes here into the mower itself. There was a hole here, which is where the axle for the old wheel came out. And then here was just some other random hole that just perfectly aligned. So I basically took this angle iron, drilled holes in it, and then bolted it directly. This angle iron comes out here, and that's what the mower is, the motor is mounted on. Originally, this lower piece is what bolted in up here. But the problem with that is the mower was sitting too low, and it was basically scalping my yard, and the mower was actually getting stuck. So what I did was cut this smaller piece and then drilled holes under here and kind of sandwiched them together, and I added these pieces of aluminum here as a spacer to give me a little bit more height. My last mow was pretty good. It didn't get stuck, and the grass was being cut to a good level. Initially, this angle iron is pretty flimsy because cheap angle iron from a bed frame, and these wheels were actually bowing in like this. They're bowing in like that. So I attempted to add this piece of angle iron, or this piece of steel here, as a way to kind of keep these items here, to keep this angle iron more straight. All the tools used to make this mower were pretty standard tools. I had a angle grinder with cutting wheels to cut the steel. I'm fortunate enough to have a drill press to drill these holes. And where is it? When I didn't use a drill press and I was out here like drilling without it, I used a stepping drill bit like this. Makes it a lot easier. I also recommend drilling pilot holes in your steel with a small drill bit to get it started, because drilling through steel, even this cheap ass shitty steel, is pretty shitty. For this bar here, the way it's bent, that is one thing I had that many people may not. That was I used an oxyacetylene torch to heat this up, to heat this piece up here, and then bend it. The only reason it's yellow is because it was a piece of 100% like untreated steel, and it was gonna rust up like crazy. As far as down here, I think that's about it. Let me flip it over and we'll go over the electronics and stuff. Alright, so I put the batteries back on. And the batteries are two 12-volt batteries from, I'm kind of scared to say it, Harbor Freight. A lot of people love to hate on Harbor Freight. So far, these batteries have been good. I think people get pissed at Harbor Freight because they go spend $200 somewhere else, and then Harbor Freight's got it for 50. Some Harbor Freight is shit, don't get me wrong, but some stuff's okay, and I'm gambling on these batteries, so we'll see how they work out. So you can see the batteries are wired up in series, so negative to positive, and then negative down to my controller, and then this positive up here actually goes to a switch, which I have a key for. Kind of unnecessary. Switch is kind of a pain in the ass because I've already lost the key a couple times. So power cables come down here to, this is a Saber-Tooth 2x32 amp motor controller, and you can see we got the positive and negative coming into the bottom there, and then each of these guys on each side go down to each motor. This here is connected up. This is the RC receiver. It gets its power. There's a 5-volt output on this little block here. That powers that with these little servo cables. So I need to rebuild the servo cables. They're complete crap. I don't have a crimping tool, so I need to figure that out. Right now it's just 2 channels. Originally, sorry, I'm very congested. Originally, I was going to use one of these Saber-Tooths, but incorporate an Arduino. And I saw a lot of people had done that, incorporating the Arduino to do. Some people use them for fail-safes. The Arduino detects when there's no input coming from the RC, and that will shut down the Saber-Tooth. Other people use them for a variety of other things. After reading up the spec sheet on this Saber-Tooth, I didn't feel that to be necessary. The Saber-Tooth has, can't see them, but you see all these dip switches? It has a whole bunch of features, and one of them is it will kill the motors if it doesn't get an RC signal. So I figured, okay, great, I'll just do that. One of the other reasons I wanted to do an Arduino was I didn't want to do tank steering. I saw a lot of these other mowers have tank steering. Tank steering is basically one joystick controls that motor, the other joystick controls that motor. I wanted it so I could push up on one joystick and steer with the other. So I figured, okay, well, I can use an Arduino for that and process these signals and have differential steering. But Saber-Tooth does that too, and it actually works pretty good. One of the other things I need to do is Saber-Tooth has one of these auxiliaries on the left. You can put the signal into that, and it will do what they call ramping, which really like lightens up the throttle on each of these things. Because as you'll see here in a minute, if you go full bore on the throttle, the wheels basically spin out. They kind of tear up the grass a little bit. My remote controller does do ramping on just the throttle, but it doesn't do it on the steering, and I'll show you why that's a problem here in a minute. Anything else? As far as mower, you can kind of see I stacked some pieces of wood here on top of the brackets down there. They come up. Put a little backing board here for the battery to sit in. Everything sits in there pretty snug. The mower is slightly back heavy. As you can see, all the weight is back here. And you'll see that causes, there's so much torque on these motors that the whole thing kicks up. I disconnected my the bar, the mower on-off bar, and I'm actually gonna try and get one of those little like throttle sticks that you can stick it on or off, because I'd like to be able to still control that, but right now it's off. I'm gonna zip tie it. Cut the string. Amount of space. So as you can see, also I took off the one of the bars, the push bars. I left this one here as kind of like a roll bar. I figure if it tips over, it might stop it from rolling over. I might raise this up to a more vertical position, but we'll see. I also need this bar here to actually lift the mower, pick up the back end here, and get it into the shed. I don't have a ramp. The motor itself probably weighs over 200 pounds. The motors themselves are like 25 a piece. Batteries are probably 25, 30 pounds a piece. You got the deck, the motor. Yeah, so it gets a little heavy. You got the wood, minimal. Steel adds some weight, but yeah, it's pretty damn heavy. So we're about to take it for a test run here. I got a pretty hilly yard. I'll show you guys how it does on these hills. Startup procedure on the mower. A little complicated. You want to turn on your remote first. And it yells at you for this particular model. I'll list the parts out in the description. I want you to zero all the switches. So that one needed to be zeroed. After I zero it, I want to put this one back in the middle to 0. Because this is my throttle cable here. After that's on, put in my key. Turn my key on. If everything is working right, you can't really see it in the... There it is. See, my receiver has got a red light. You look down here at my saber tooth, I should have a green light. I had an issue when I first ran it where I was getting flashing lights, but I think it was due to the batteries running out. There. Alright. I'm trying to hold this camera and drive this thing at the same time. Basically, back. You can kind of see there. I'll bring it towards me here. My wheels are still a little bit bowed, but they're not as bowed in. They were bowing in, but they're not nearly as bowed as they were. But we'll see how that bar holds up. I might end up adding another bar, or who knows, I might just completely rebuild the brackets and use some stronger stuff. But I don't know. We'll play that one by ear. So, alright, let's take it. Other plan is I'm going to add swivel wheels to the front. Alright, so let's take it up. Let's see if it'll climb this hill here. So it climbs right up that sucker. I got 0 now. It's just worming its way down the hill on its own. Apparently the saber-tooth will regenerate the batteries, but I don't see this thing really free falling down a hill like this too much, so. I'm messing with my trim. I think that one of the motors is more powerful than the other mower. Or one of the motors has got more, I don't know, torque / life. Because it doesn't quite drive in a straight line, but I think I can fix that with the trim on my remote here. The serial numbers for the motors are pretty far off, so it wouldn't be safe to assume that they came off completely different wheelchairs. And one's probably a good bit older than the other. But let's take this. Like I see, I can just set my throttle. It's up there a little bit. I can just kind of, as you can see, when I turn, it's very easy for those wheels to start spinning out. That's why I need to hook up the ramping. If you do the ramping through the saber-tooth itself, it'll ramp both channels. Right now I'm just ramping the throttle. So it tends not to burn out if I throw the throttle straight up, but I don't want any more of this spinning. Alright, so let's take it up to the real hill, okay? One thing I just noticed is I could see my yellow bar down there. I can see that being a possible problem. That bar is pretty low to the ground, and I could see it getting stuck on spots, but we'll see how that plays out. There's one spot up here that when I first built it and it was a lot lower to the ground, I was getting stuck like crazy, but let's go test it out. Obviously the mower is not on right now. I believe it does not have any gas in it. You can definitely tell it's swivel wheels in the front. Casters would be pretty awesome. A lot of the ones online, a lot of the other mowers I've seen have these swivel wheels. It makes it a zero-turn mower. So that bare spot there is one spot I was bottoming out on. That didn't bottom out. So it marches right up this hill. And this hill is ginormous, guys. This hill is a massive pain in the ass to mow. It sucks so hard to push this freaking mower. Alright, let me bring this thing down.
The pool's not even open. It opens like at 12.
We'll do I went up the slope here. It's less of a slope, but I'll take it straight up right here so you can see that it will climb this hill. Nice big old dog turd. I don't care about running over dog turds anymore. So it drove straight up that hill. I mean, right up it. The thing is huge. Yeah, it's creeping along. Alright, so you can kind of see my wheel. It's hard to see in the video, but it is still bowing in slightly. And this wheel, the left wheel, seems to be bowing in more than the right wheel. It's probably why it has a slight turn on there. But if you watch when I throttle it, you'll see it do a wheelie, which is why I really wanted to put the those bars in the back there. There we go. No, not enough throttle. Alright, we're going to cut it off there. Alright, so we're back with the mower. And I have added the zero turn. Took the front wheels off, added the zero turn. These casters are pretty tiny, but so far they work pretty good. Give you a quick demo. It's pretty cool. as you can see on that one wheel. Big old dog turd on there. So, I don't care. I'm not stepping in it anymore. But, yeah, so. The zero turn is going to make mowing a lot easier. So yeah, those front wheels had about fallen off when I took them off. All right, good luck.